This week on Lunchbox Envy, the Aztecs like to mash them up and smear them on roasted grasshoppers.
It takes about 500 of them to make one jar of spread.
And in the early 20th century, it was thought rubbing it into your scalp cured baldness.
Spoiler alert, bald men everywhere, it does not. This week, it's peanuts. Hello and welcome to Lunchbox Envy. I'm Rosie, I'm a chef and food writer, and I'm here with my sweet QI elves, Jack and Manu.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey,
Hello.
how's it going?
Very good, thank you.
Excellent.
Nice.
So, peanuts. Let's take the temperature of the room, I think. How do we feel about peanuts?
I legit am scared of having a kid with a peanut allergy.
Really?
No shade. I would find it so hard to give them up.
Interestingly, you can develop them at any stage in your
No.
life. Yeah. So it's not a matter of if you're born with it, then you're stuck. But if you're born without it, then you're not.
Now I just have the L'Oreal advert in my head.
Maybe you're born with it.
That's
Maybe it's a peanut
Maybelline.
allergy. They are very much like prevalent. So like the comparison I would make is that like I use parsley as a herb the most. Similarly in cooking, I use peanuts probably the most out of all the different
The
nuts.
Yeah.
Or are they a nut?
Oh.
I'm not sure. I haven't quite decided. But they're very, very functional, useful, and extremely popular
Oh, yeah.
as a nut.
Aren't they mostly functional because of their oil content? Basically, they're like 50% oil, right?
50% fat.
Fat.
Ugh,
Yeah.
Why they're so tasty.
It is indeed why they're so tasty. But it also means that they can function in cookery, for example, as a very useful fat, both as an oil. Peanut oil has a very high smoking point, so you can fry in it. But also, for example, they are very good at blending down into a butter-like substance, which we will come to. I'm sure we're going to discuss.
Being very evasive.
Well, I don't want to give the game away too soon, right?
You're also being evasive when you call them a nut.
Well, that's a good
we should
reason,
address
Manu,
this.
because in the true style of this podcast and generally QI Productions, they are not a nut.
Oh, okay.
Ugh.
What are they then?
They are, in fact, a legume,
Oh, okay.
a
Like
type of pea,
a chickpea or something.
peanut. There's like a pea-esque nut.
Oh, they should be
And-
nut peas then, in
Well,
my mind.
Oh, a nut pea.
Not pea, but they are peas.
So legume is like a pulse?
It's a pulse, yeah.
Okay.
So same family as beans, lentils, and chickpeas. And famously, they're grown underground.
Oh,
So
Hence-
unlike tree nuts, which you grow on trees, you understand that.
Got it. Thanks,
I'm
Rosie.
sure that
Yeah, I'm
would
with you,
make
I'm
sense
with
to
you.
you all. Almonds, walnuts are types of tree nuts. And when you harvest them, you pull out the plants from the soil so that on the plant, the peanuts look like little bunches of onions.
wow. Or potatoes, I was thinking. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
They do kind of
and that's why they're known as groundnuts, I guess.
Yeah.
In some places. Yeah.
Yeah, there are a couple of other names. Goober.
the Americans love calling them a goober pea. It sounds like a
Really?
booger.
Yeah,
I
I've never come
hate
across
it.
this.
But it comes from a West African word, nguba,
Oh.
brought to the Americas via the transatlantic slave trade. And monkey nut, which is still used in some parts of the UK. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I've heard monkey nuts. They're the ones in the shell, right?
I
Yeah.
think if you said, would you like a monkey nut? I'd be like, what's that?
They take so long to shell.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Peanuts also have a really beautiful flower.
Do
Do they?
I had no idea.
What
yeah.
colour?
Yellow.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. They're really pretty. They look kind of like, sweet peas have really pretty flowers.
Yeah.
A little bit similar to that. It's kind of orchidy yellow.
Oh, beautiful.
I
Oh, I
know.
bet I would love those. Do they smell nice? Write in if you've ever smelled a peanut flower. We'd love to know what it smells like.
Yeah.
But where did peanuts come from?
Not West Africa, apparently.
Oh,
So we've traced them back to the Incas and Aztecs. So Central South America. They've been cultivated for 3,500 years. Many Mesoamerican cultures have depictions of peanuts, sort of carved into temples or stone things.
Yeah, because
stone walls and pictures.
but they know what's up. Like all of the
Yeah.
best foods are carved into stuff. Like,
Absolutely. So they
historical.
were probably revered, I imagine.
Yeah, 'cause they're
there is
delicious.
that really good ancient Five Guys carving. I love going there.
So we mentioned in the intro that Aztecs used to make a sort of rudimentary peanut butter and then smear them over grasshoppers, which I love as an idea. But apparently they're full of protein and umami. I mean, peanuts themselves are full of protein.
Functionally, it sounds quite hard to have to spread what I can only imagine as be quite thick peanut butter on
Yeah,
a very
cheesy.
small, fragile, fried, roasted, dried grasshopper. Like,
In tropical countries, grasshoppers can get pretty big.
yes, no, you're right.
But they used to mix them with honey, which I find fascinating. This same dish is basically grasshoppers, peanut butter, and honey, which is basically the sort of salty sweet kick that we get from a PBJ sandwich.
Yeah.
Has anyone tried grasshoppers?
No, I still haven't. I'm working myself up to it. Maybe 2027.
Okay. I take it.
Give yourself 2 years rather than just one.
I just think I get a bit distant from how I feel about it right now.
I did spend some time in the Kruger National Park in South Africa, and that's where I had. Weirdly, they sold these things as stink bugs, which doesn't sound like the most appealing
No.
insect to try, but it was pretty disgusting.
Oh.
I will say, like, I think entophagy, as it's known, eating insects is probably the future, or at least we shouldn't be squeamish about it.
No, you're right. I mean, there's definitely a movement to eat them more. They're much more. As I understand it, there's a few different insect breeds which are much more eco to eat than a lot of other of our
So
protein
much.
sources. And there are definitely Mexican restaurants in London now. I can't name them off the top of my head, but they're serving grasshoppers, chapulines.
Amazing.
So maybe we should go on a group outing.
Yeah, work
I
trip.
love it.
But again, I did say in 2027. So
Yeah,
just
true.
hold it. Shall we dive into our first lunchbox, ladies and gents?
Oh yes.
Yes, please.
What I've brought for you today is a dish that I first tried maybe 4 or 5 years ago. That is called groundnut soup.
Oh,
Wow,
look
So,
at that.
that looks fierce.
to describe it for the listener, it is a thick stew in chicken. I will talk about why I've used chicken a little bit later. Made from peanut butter.
Oh,
And this recipe that I followed is a Sierra Leonean recipe.
okay.
I found out about this dish because a few years ago when I was a home economist on television shows, making food for camera, making food for chefs on camera, I worked with a chef rapper called Big Zoo.
Oh,
Big
yeah.
Zoo is from Sierra Leone,
Cool.
and he introduced me to this dish, groundnut soup, and it is divine. It's like all good peanut butter stuff. It's super savory, extremely rich, Moorish, delicious,
Decadent.
umami, decadent.
Sierra Leone, roundest country in the world.
Serious.
Really?
Yeah.
That's such a
Oh.
weird.
Closest to the circle.
This is an extremely common recipe that is used all over West Africa.
Mm.
Groundnut is a derivation of the word groundnut in Sierra Leone, Sierra Leonean dialect. But there are literally I cannot describe to you hundreds of different versions of this across West Africa.
Yeah.
In Sierra Leone, as I said, it's groundnut soup or groundnut stew. In Cameroon and Senegal, it's called mafe. In Gambia, it's called domoda. In Nigeria, it's called omutsagwe. As you can see,
Yeah.
it's popular.
Lots of variations.
And there's lots of variations, and they all have, in all the best regional food, everything differs town by town, right? It's the same with this. There are lots of different versions. I could not find a consistent recipe. For want of a better word, it's a kitchen sinker. You
Yeah.
can kind of put anything in it, but the main ingredient is groundnut paste, which brings me on to sort of why West Africa? Why is this such an important part of West African food culture? And it's because in the 1600s, the Portuguese were colonizing Africa and they brought over peanuts from South America because we know that they didn't grow in West Africa
Gotcha.
before. But then in the 1840s, the world was constantly looking for new types of fuel, oil seeds, basically.
Wait, sorry. Is this fuel for vehicles?
So not fuel for vehicles, but it's cooking oil, soap, and lamps. They did peanut oil could be used to fuel lamps.
Ah,
no way.
okay, nice.
So basically, the export of peanuts started from West Africa by the French, who were at that point colonizing that part of the world,
As well.
as well as
the
so
Portuguese.
the Portuguese have been and gone. The
Got it.
French are in now. to sort of summarize a very complicated part of history, the French had abolished slavery in France and were talking a big game about not, being abolitionists and stuff. But when they were working out in Africa and they realized that this crop was very prevalent, it's very easy to grow, they needed slavery to be able to export it. So they kind of did what most of these colonizing, enslaving countries did. They basically pretended that they were liberating and civilizing, as has been the rhetoric for a lot of these different, the Belgians, the English. They pretended they were going to Africa and doing a really good thing, but they actually weren't. They were exploiting and enslaving. It was described as the peanut boom. It was so popular that by 1871, France was importing 17,000 tons of peanuts annually. And then by 1880, it was 55,000 tons.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that's how big it was. So anyway, that's why peanuts became this incredibly important food in West Africa and has become, extremely culturally prevalent in cuisines across that region. I've made this Tazoo's recipe. There are a few consistent ingredients across the various versions of this dish from West Africa. I would say those are onions, bell peppers, tomato paste is very often used, Scotch bonnet, chili peppers. They are in pretty much every version I could find.
Delicious.
Extremely spicy.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's not that spicy because what obviously tempers all of those ingredients is the peanut butter, the groundnut paste. For my version, I did use peanut butter because that's what I could get hold of.
Yeah.
A whole ginormous
There's
jar.
a whole jar of peanut.
Really?
Yeah, you need to go hard on the peanut butter.
Because it's not that thick. It's not like when you have peanut butter raw, it goes to the roof of your mouth.
But I think because there is also liquid in there from the cooking of the meat. In West Africa, you would use groundnut paste, which is slightly different consistency. It's a lot thinner. Anyway, should we try some?
Let's do it. It smells incredible. I really want to use my hands. I'm hands in it. Oh my God. Whoa.
Oh, I feel like West African Henry VIII with my drumstick.
Oh, you guys did go hands in.
Yeah.
If you're wondering what you would serve it with, you can serve it with rice, obviously. White rice, perfect. But often it would be found also with pounded yam, boiled cassava, fufu, which is a type of boiled starch. So you'd either make it with cassava, yam, or plantain, fonio, banku, and kenke.
Oh.
All of which look quite similar.
What's a kenke?
Kenke is basically maize that's been steeped in water for a week or so, sort of almost fermented. Then it's milled and kneaded with water into a kind of dough.
Okay.
And then that's fermented. And then it's cooked, steamed.
Nice. Oh, shout out to Big Z.
Yeah, he is a lovely man. Really nice.
But
a very happy time working for him.
Oh, thank you, Rosie.
Delicious.
My pleasure. I'm glad we all got to have some granite soup.
Are you going to take the leftovers home?
You look like you'd like them.
You had first dibs. You made it.
Okay.
Shall we talk a bit more about peanut butter and its origins?
Yeah, I'd love to know more.
So,
Sorry.
sarcastic Rosie.
Wow.
So, to thank for our modern peanut butter, the way we jar it and mix it with oil and make it delicious and spreadable, we have none other than John Harvey Kellogg. Heard of him?
I'm assuming he is of Kellogg fame.
Yes, he is.
Crunchy nut. No, wait.
Wait, what?
It's great. Is that from Kellogg's?
That's the Frosties.
The Frosties.
Tiger.
They're a type of
Frosties.
Kellogg's.
So, Dr. John Harvey Kellogg, he was a doctor, and in 1895, he was running this, he called it a sanatorium. We would basically call it a wellness center nowadays, and it was in Battle Creek, Michigan, and he believed in what we would now call wellness, I think. He was basically into integrative health, and he thought the diet was a huge part of it. He was very much after clean living. He was a strict vegetarian. He promoted yogurt enemas.
Oh.
He thought they were good for you. Anyway, that's beside the point. We'll save that for the yogurt episode. And he was promoting healthy, clean living, basically. And he was famous for the cereal. He actually developed breakfast cereal as he thought that a bland, nutritional way to start the day was a way to avoid like all these sort of hot feelings and to stop people masturbating, basically, because he was very anti-masturbation.
Oh. I mean, That feels antithetical to wellness.
Yeah.
Masturbation surely is highly important to one's,
Well, you know.
one's
I think
wellness.
Back in the day,
The temptations of the flesh were considered to be.
have you seen the little like anti-masturbatory kind of Victorian style
Like a
ring
chastity
things?
belt?
No, but for penises.
Oh, no, I
Oh,
haven't.
And they
yeah.
look like, you know, the egg cutters.
Oh,
No.
God.
But you just wear them and it's like, oh, don't get excited. Don't
Like
get
a
excited.
nutcracker.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
It's mad.
Literally.
They hated masturbation.
Yeah.
Crazy,
Anyway,
because they were horny buggers.
I know.
Mm.
Well, it's that also runs antithetical to the yogurt enemas, which might actually encourage you to masturbate.
I mean, yogurt enema doesn't sound that bad to me. I
No.
just think something creamy and cold going up your bum maybe would be nice. I don't mean it like that. But also, that's quite clever because was he doing a yogurt enema by virtue of good bacteria going
Yeah.
back into your...
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's clever.
Yeah.
All right, Mr.
He was
Actimel.
onto something. He was onto
Yeah.
something.
Can I just say, do not, if you're listening to this,
Yes, we
do
don't
not
condone
try
it.
at home.
No.
Well, do
Yes.
try. Let us know how it is.
There are lots of other podcasts where you could find some information on how to try that, but not this one.
Anyway, so Kellogg was into all this wellness stuff. One of the things he identified was that peanut butter was a really useful source of nutrition for people who couldn't chew. So he would grind peanuts down. It was much coarser and less tasty than we have modern peanut butter today, not least because he was into bland foods. But yeah, he's kind of credited with popularizing peanut butter.
Sorry, I just have such a strong image of Kellogg just smushing peanut butter into people's face.
And up their bottoms.
Oh, God, Rosie. So I was looking at expensive peanut butters. And I remembered something that we looked up for QI, actually. And it's to do with standard reference materials. In the world of manufacturing, so if you're making like the perfect version of something, or you want like a product to be exactly the same every time, so you can run like a standard number of tests on it.
Okay, consistency.
And yeah, exactly. You need materials that have the exact same qualities, like say the same amount of salt or like iron or any kind of mineral or chemical that will not change throughout your test. So in the US, they have the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, which makes these standard reference materials. So they have like a standard cigarette. So you know when you
genius.
have like, you order a piece of furniture and it has that label and it's like, this is highly flame retardant or highly flammable. They will have tested that using a cigarette from one of these companies.
Goodness.
Wow.
So they are also really expensive.
Oh, really?
So a jar of peanut butter from the National Institute in the US would cost you just under £360.
Oh my God.
What?
I know.
So, sorry if I'm being thick here, but what do we use the standard reference peanut butter example for? What is it used for?
Oh, Rosie, have you ever come across a mystery substance and wondered, is this peanut butter?
Because I'm not an idiot.
Well, you'd think that were the case, but apparently you use standard reference peanut butter and other standard reference materials for testing mystery substances. So if you've got something, you can be like, let's just see if the chemical components are the same as the standard reference peanut butter.
Right. So I guess it's kind of like similar to DNA testing, but for food
Yes.
things.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good analogy.
Right. So, for example, if a supermarket is using peanut butter as an ingredient in a smoothie, they can approximate the calories and the nutritional value of said smoothie with the standard reference peanut butter
Okay, yeah.
because that basically is their benchmark. That is actually a useful thing, I suppose. Because I was like, the sofa companies surely can't be using this peanut butter for jet staining.
No, but they're not. It's just there when they need it.
Yeah, it's there when they need
That's
it.
the thing. It's the control peanut butter. Yeah.
Exactly. It's also really good if you want to like quality control. If you're creating government regulations about what constitutes a certain food, you can use the standard reference peanut butter. And if you want to test, there's no like rogue or random elements or ingredients in your peanut butter, say a beetle got in your batch or something, you can test against the standard reference.
So then you
So
can
it's
just
like
brand it as an Aztec snack then, can't you? Like, this peanut contains locusts.
Well, it's time for our second lunchbox, and that is you, Mr. Jack.
Mm.
Would you please indulge us?
I've brought you all a Snickers bar each,
Hey.
Yummy!
Oh.
but I've also made some from scratch, which are missing a key ingredient, and I wonder if you can tell me what that is.
Wow, those look amazing, Jack. Even I wouldn't be bothered to do that.
They are beautiful.
Well, truth be told, I couldn't be bothered to do that either, so our producer Alex has made them.
Oh, really?
And
Oh,
he
congrats.
said that I
Thank
could
you,
claim credit
Alex.
for them.
Those
so
are
here I
beautiful.
am.
And I know you can't cook, so.
Oh, shots fired.
Okay, so I'm gonna take them up. Right, come on.
I'm going to do the OG in the wrapper Snickers bar first.
For those of you who don't know what a Snickers bar is, it's a chocolate bar filled with nougat, caramel, and peanuts.
Whoa. I'm going to go in for, oh my God, that's fudgy.
It's way more sugary.
I'm picking up the homemade one.
Yeah, the homemade one is my
Oh.
next bite.
It breaks so beautifully.
Mm.
Thank you, Alex.
Mmm.
That's fucked up, man.
In a good way.
Yeah, in a good way.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
so good.
It's so good.
Mmm.
So Snickers, one of the most, I would say one of the most, I mean, it's the most eaten chocolate bar. It's got to be one of the most famous peanut-based confectionery out there. It was invented in 1930 by Mars Incorporated.
Not by Dr. Snickers.
No, not by, there's no such human as Dr. Snickers, as far as my research has led me. The Mars family had a favorite horse, which was called Snickers.
Sorry, racehorse.
A racehorse. Yeah,
Right,
I think
okay.
So. So it was launched in 1930, but only in America, and it arrived in Britain in 1968. Only they thought that Snickers would sound a bit too much like Knickers, and that's rude. So they changed it to Marathon, which basically anyone over the age of 40 is quite keen to tell you. It used to be called Marathon, and they all sort of resent the day that it changed back to Snickers, which was in 1990. So kind of before our time, I think. But actually, there was a Marathon bar in America in the 70s. And it was basically what we would call a curly whirly.
Ooh.
Oh,
So the whole
Curly Whirly's a much better name than Marathon. Marathon's such a boring name.
I
Snickers
think so.
and Curly Whirly. all
Wasn't it-
day.
wasn't it designed to like invoke the kind of slightly healthy, gives your energy a boost. But have you had a chance to consider what the missing ingredient might be?
What? Well, I think it's salt. So.
Well, I mean, technically it's not. So there are two missing ingredients, but basically it's a thing called reworking, and it happens in all sorts of manufacturing processes. Sometimes the process will go wrong and you'll get a whole batch which is a bit misformed, and so it can't be sold, but it's perfectly edible, and they don't want to waste this perfectly good material. And so what they do is they'll throw it back into the mix of the next batch. So essentially, every Snickers you eat has a bit of Snickers from an older batch, just the one before.
It reminds me of in Chinese cookery how they use master stocks. So
Yes,
they
perpetual soup.
perpetual
Oh.
soup that they always keep creating and using the same stock
Yeah.
and growing more stock. And also even a kind of similar to like wok hay where they never clean the wok. Like the seasoning of the food comes from the seasoning of the wok and the constant use of the wok. And yeah, it's a similar
Yeah, I like it.
principle.
I think Kit Kats are made similarly.
I think so too. I was going to say that the wafer.
yeah, like the bit in between. That's old Kit Kats as well.
Another thing, when you're trying your branded chocolate bars, you should try eating them upside down because it often gives a very different flavor. If you look at the Snickers,
Ooh.
it's got like the nuts are all on the top as you would normally eat it, and the nougat's on the bottom. But if you eat it upside down, it gives you a whole different mouthfeel.
I'm
So
doing it.
I'm like bubbling to say this. Do you guys eat Pringles upside down?
What is there an upside down? I feel like they're symmetrically.
They're not so.
No,
No,
maybe they're not.
They're like the horse saddle shape, but all of the flavoring and the MSG is on the top. So you know
Oh,
how they come
really?
stacked in the tube, and like the two
Ah.
sides are going down, and you got one kind of bit in the middle. That's where all of the salt is. You eat them upside down, boosh, straight on your tongue. Amazing.
Jesus
that's clever.
Christ. They should promote that, to be honest, because like we're all missing out on the ultimate Pringles
Yeah, but I think there's
experience.
someone out there who's like, wait, there's no seasoning on the other side? What is this?
Have you guys heard of George Washington Carver? He's arguably the patron saint of domesticated peanuts, certainly in America.
No, I haven't.
I think Americans, he's a bit of a household name in America. I think a lot of people think he invented peanut butter, which isn't quite true, but he certainly popularized the peanut as a useful crop, especially in the American South. So he was actually born into slavery. He was born just before emancipation in around 1864. We're not really sure. And he was a scientist, inventor, agricultural educator. He was a very clever man. He became one of the most influential black scientists in US history. And he was revered in his later years for basically, he wanted to diversify from cotton because the monoculture in the South was creating really poor soils. So he was like, why don't we grow peanuts and sweet potatoes? So all sorts of legumes that bring the nitrogen back into the soil. And he developed like hundreds of products to do with peanuts in order to, make a commercial reason to grow peanuts. So,
Gosh,
yeah.
clever man.
Yeah.
We're going on to our final lunchbox of the day, and that is from Manu.
Thank you, Rosie. So I have bought potentially my favorite drink and food combination: peanuts and beer.
Oh, just nutritious.
It's great. Anyway, so this is something that I read about. It's a party trick that they do in Argentina,
Okay.
where they'll have a beer and they put their peanuts in it at the bar and they watch them dance.
Dance.
What?
I know,
tango.
they're dancing. So here's the one I made earlier.
Oh,
I'm going to pop it on
it
there.
looks freaky deaky, like something from,
Oh my
an
God.
episode of American
are-
Horror
They're
Story.
going up and
It
down,
looks very unappetizing. The peanuts have kind of become a bit swollen
Yeah.
in the
yeah.
lager. I bought these two things here today to do the experiment, and we poured it just to test, and they did nothing. And we were all
Oh, yeah. They were just floating on the top.
it was
Yeah.
so scary,
So
and I was like,
disappointing.
"What have I done?" So
we
we
were ready
left.
to fire Manu. We handed her a P45.
Yeah, no, it was great fun. I was shitting myself. And then after about half an hour or so, an hour, they started dancing.
Yeah.
So the peanuts are floating to the top of the beer. They'll chill out there for a little bit, and then they'll sink down to the bottom and then float back up. It looks very much like
Wow.
a lava lamp.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Natural lava
Great
lamp.
fun. In 2013, researchers figured out why this happens.
Uh-huh.
And it's basically the peanuts are denser than the beer. So when you put
It's really hypnotic.
Yeah. Carl's on staring.
it is lava lamp, isn't
Yeah.
it? So the peanuts are denser than the beer. So when you put them in, they should sink to the bottom. When they're in the bottom, all of the little bubbles collect and they're attracted to the peanut. So they
Okay.
stick to the peanut, and then eventually they make the peanut buoyant enough for them to rise to the top of the beer. And then when it gets to the surface, the bubbles on the top near the very surface of the beer come off
Yeah,
the
yeah.
peanut, and then it does this really cool flippy thing because now there are more bubbles attached to the bottom of the
Of
peanut.
course, yeah,
So they
yeah.
turn over, the bubbles burst off the other side of the peanut, and then it sinks back down.
Wow.
So they think that this kind of process is going to help researchers in the future.
Wait, this has a use.
It does. It's actually scientifically useful. They hope that it's going to help scientists figure out like magma flows. So, the kind of lava lamp style movement,
literally.
but in actual geography and geology.
Crazy.
She's mad.
Is there a reason why it's peanuts other than other nuts? Like, does it work with other nuts?
Oh, I bet they're the right density.
Yeah, if they're the right density, they should.
Oh, it just moved dramatic. Maybe it's my arm. It feels like this would be a great cheat if your kid is like, please have a lava lamp, please, please, please. You're like, no, I know what I can give you.
We've got a lava lamp at
I used, to
home.
I used to have a lava lamp. Did you guys have a
I
lava
don't
lamp?
I grew up with one.
What? That was sick
never
90s
had that.
culture.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel deprived now.
You're a bit young, Manny.
Well, you've got one right here, babe.
Yeah.
You just made it.
Damn. Yeah, I'll take it. Do you want to try some, Jack?
Was it?
Yeah,
it
I
was.
want to try it.
I crunch
Also,
it.
because another reason peanuts and beer go so well together is because the saltiness of the peanuts can help kind of cancel out bitterness in lager. And similarly, the saltiness makes you like enjoy the kind of refreshingness of the beer.
Yeah.
You get
So it's
thirsty.
like, a balance made in heaven.
Yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, that is the peanut and beer lava lamp. Thank you very much.
The dancing nuts. Goobers. The dancing goober. Great pub name.
That is a great pub name.
Yeah.
Whilst we're on peanutty chemicals and science and chemical reactions, we haven't spoken that much about peanut allergies.
Yes.
As I said, I can't imagine having one because I love peanuts so
Yeah,
much. So it's basically just your body getting a little bit / very confused about threats. So it will think that the peanut protein is trying to attack you, kind of like an infection, and then it will start reacting to it like it's under attack.
What allergies are? It's your own body attacking you.
Exactly.
That's such a shame.
Yeah. Peanut allergies are actually becoming more common because my parents always talk about, like kids never had allergies back in the day. And I'm like, surely there aren't more because that doesn't make sense. But there are actually. So before the 1990s, peanut allergies were actually quite rare, but cases in the US and the UK have tripled since then, which is bonkers. And we're not entirely sure why this is the case, but there are a couple of ideas. And one is to do with the fact that we are way too clean now, especially post-pandemic. We love cleaning surfaces. We love washing our hands, as we were told to do so frequently, which is really important. But your body is exposed to less actual pathogens, but it's still like, I got to do something.
Yeah.
And then it turns on peanuts.
There is one trial that they've done to try and reduce and cure peanut allergies, actually. It's to do with exposure therapy. So in 2023, scientists trialed a toothpaste which contained very tiny amounts of peanut, about 1 milligram. They did a study, and by the end of the 48-week trial, they managed to eat like a third of a peanut each and not have a reaction.
I'd take that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's just a long way
It's a long
to go.
process. Yeah, true.
To eat a quarter of a peanut. You'd have to do about 4 years before you could eat like one spoon of peanut butter.
God,
It's worth it though.
Worth it for your peanut dish.
Well, that's right. Just wanted to tell you something that I found out is that the creator of peanut M&Ms is a man called Forrest Mars from the Mars
No,
family.
wait, the same family.
Yeah, he was allergic to peanuts.
No way.
How he got that product made, I do not know. That's it for this week's edition of Lunchbox Envy. You can follow our socials for foodie facts and podcast updates. We are on X, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Lunchbox Envy Pod.
We'll also be posting up any recipes we've mentioned on the website. Just head to qi.com/lunchbox to check them out.
Rosie, do you have any other parting gifts of peanut recipes that aren't Big Z's?
Yes, fair enough. Well, actually, I don't know if you've ever tried ice cream with peanut butter, specifically pepper nut, and chili oil on it.
Wow.
It's really good.
I have
like
not.
A dollop of peanut butter on vanilla ice cream with a little trickle of chili oil on top of that. That is a savory, sweet sensation.
That sounds
really
amazing.
highly recommend.
You're a maverick.
Love it.
And we'll leave you with this. Arachibutyrophobia is the very real fear of getting peanut butter stuck to the roof of your mouth. I've been there. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Lunchbox Envy was hosted by Jack Chambers, Manu Henriot, and me, Rosie MacKean. It was mixed by Lee, and it was produced by Alex Bell. This has been a quite interesting podcast.